Hi, everyone. This is Bob Sorrentino from ItalianGenealogy.blog with another fun episode. Today, I'll be speaking with David Sapienza, who has been researching his roots for many years. Hi, David. How's everything?
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Bob. I really appreciate it. This is a great opportunity to sit down and talk.
Thank you. And we'll have a lot of fun, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
So my first question is, how long have you been researching?
So I would say that I started researching about 6-7 years ago with some seriousness. When I was a graduate student 20 years ago at the University of Missouri, my mom really got into genealogy and started doing a lot of work for our family on her side of the family. And that was a little easier process. My mom's family are English, and they've been in the United States since the early 1600s. So that was a lot easier process of getting the information. And I started wanting to do more of my research for my Italian side of the family. And I was pretty quick at hitting some roadblocks. And it was a lot of challenges. I've been really grateful for great websites like the Ellis Island site that has a lot of information. But even with that, it was a slow and tedious process that really only came stronger, more accessible 4 years ago, 2016. That was when things really got a lot easier for me in my process.
Yeah, and I had a similar experience. Once the Antonati and some of those sites started coming online, and Family Org and those where they kind of self-populate, that helps a lot.
Right.
So that's what got you started. Your mom actually got you started by researching her family.
Yeah, she just had some great experiences with some family who had been working family tree stuff, and again, since they've been here so long, they had books and better documentation. And so it was just a much easier process. That's all. Where I knew my immigrant relatives. I knew them well. They weren't always quick to share their stories, and they weren't quick to share information. And so things I discovered in this process gave me greater understanding of myself and my family that I wouldn't have had otherwise, and be able to share things with other cousins of mine who are really into it, because we have this accessibility, which has been great for our family, and great for just staying connected with your family when you move halfway across the country away from where you grew up, like myself.
So have you done a DNA test?
I did. I did one with Ancestry a couple of years ago, and so my dad, both my dad's parents are first generation from the same 20-mile radius just outside of Palermo. And so, I thought myself to probably be about 50% Italian ancestry, and what possibly is not an uncommon story, especially for someone who's Siciliano, to come out 37%, so that you see the ethnic diversity that comes in and out of Sicily, due to its contentious history over the last 800 years with various invaders and conflicts, and just being a doorway in the Mediterranean of constant interaction, especially being like right on the water in Sicily, as our family is, so that the port trade and interaction of other people is to be expected, as opposed to be a little more interior, or perhaps or in Italy itself.
I've had similar. My family is from Naples and Bari. My dad's from Naples and my mom's from Bari. My wife is half Sicilian, and she's from Chiacia, just down from Palermo. And we were supposed to be there next month.
Oh,
but that's not happening now.
Have you been before?
I have been. We went about 25 years ago. I lived in England for 2 years. So we made a trip over there. We went to Rome for a couple of days, and then we took the train to the train to Naples, and I jumped in a car, drove down to Sorrento. And at the time, I had no idea that my grandmother's, my paternal grandmother and grandfather, their families lived a half a mile from the
Oh,
railroad
wow.
station in Naples.
Wow.
I could have walked there. But like you said, with the advent of all the internet stuff, and being able to research it and finding the birth certificates and death certificates, they all lived right there.
That's great.
My story is similar to yours from a documentation perspective because my paternal grandmother was nobility. So I was able to trace her back, one of her families back to 950 in Naples. And there's some interesting things there, but I don't want to bore everybody with that on this call. So but to that end, what was your most significant discovery?
So I knew that my grandmother's, her mom was from Chinese. That was the only part of our family that we knew. My Paleo family had come from there in about 1912, 1914. But we didn't know names of any of the other villages where our family was from. I remember as a kid, I was always fascinated about these things. And, my grandparents spoke Italian in the home, and I always wanted them to speak with me and try to teach me. I just always wanted to be connected to my Italian ancestry. It was just something that was always important to me. And I'd ask them all sorts of questions and try to, get them to talk to me about where our family was from and tell stories about their parents. And even with my grandmother's mother, my great grandmother was alive until I was in high school. She died when I was 17, so I knew her well. I couldn't get anybody to tell me anything. If you asked, all you got was that we were from somewhere in Palermo. That's all they'd say. And I think it is the typical story of the American experience for a lot of immigrants, especially coming from that time. And I'm a cultural historian. I'm a high school history teacher. I teach European history and U.S. history, and one of the things that I have focused on is immigration stories in U.S. history. And for those who came for significant, economic reasons, it's not common for them to want to keep talking about their stories. And so to not know these things or not know anything about those very proximal relatives and was the beginning of complexity. So to get to see my great grandfather's birth certificate, my great grandmother's birth certificate, their marriage certificate, to see their wedding pictures, that somehow we were able to get our hands on those, and those were not things that were in the family. I don't even know if they'd made their way to the United States from Italy when they came in the 19 teens, because I never saw these things, never once in my childhood. So that in the process, getting to know exactly where our families were from. Like I said, as being a student of history, when I was in college, my professor for my mentor had pointed out for me to study that in St. Louis, that you're either Milanese or you're a Siciliano. That's it. It's pretty much a 40 kilometer radius around Palermo is it of where people come from in St. Louis, and that I shouldn't be surprised that my family only came from around Palermo, and then through the process find out that we were from the specific place of Partinico, Chinisi, and Terracini. It was a great part of my discovery. And 3 years ago, I took my son to Italy for about a month. We ended up getting to spend a week down in Sicily and get to go to all 3 villages of where our family was from. That was pretty cool to get to have that experience. But again, documentation stuff, I can't find records to know where exactly they lived. The only part of my family that I knew exactly where they lived was the family who lived in Chinisi, which is where the airport is in Palermo. And I don't need to find the address because we were one of the people who sold our land to help develop the airport. So we just got the closest rental that we could find to the airport, and then said that was as close to where Grandma and Grandpa's house would have been to be able to stay. Because it's true, right? It was the end of the street was the airport, so that really was as close as it could be.
We'll be right back. Experience Italy like never before, traveling with a scheduled group or create your own bespoke tour with friends with philitaly.co. Pack your bags and follow Phil. That's www.philitaly.co.
That's funny. That's really funny. Yeah. So, did you feel
I was.
like you were
I
home
did
when you went
because,
there?
like I said, because there's so many people who are from these same villages who are the Italian community that I grew up with in St. Louis. I very much felt at home. That it wasn't like even discovering new foods because there were things that I'd seen as a kid my whole life. Going into the town bakery and seeing bread baked in the exact same fashion in the exact same way. With family names that are family names that I was familiar with, family names who owned bakeries in St. Louis that I'd gone to as a kid. That they were clearly just the cousins who stayed as opposed to the cousins who left. And just what do they do when they get to the new country? They start a business in what they know how to do. The thing that had been in the family for multiple generations. Just open up the same bakeries offering the exact same cookies, the exact same bread. It felt like just going to the hill in St. Louis, which is always one of the very first things that I do when I go back home to St. Louis. It was really cool that way. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we had an experience in Sorrento where they had there was a butcher shop, Sorrentino's, and
Yeah,
I don't think it was a relative, but anyway, I was outside
sure.
snapping a picture just to get the name, and the owner came out. He didn't speak
Right.
English. I didn't speak Italian, but I got enough to know that he was asking me why I was taking a picture. That I figured out. So I took my license. I said Sorrentino from America. And he started Ashbet, and he ran next door. He left me standing there, ran next door, and dragged out the guy from the store next door who spoke English, so he could translate what we were saying. And then right smack dab in the middle of Sorrento is the Sorrentino Club, Circolo Sorrentino. And it was Sunday morning, and I wanted to go in and just take a picture inside. And the maitre d' or the waiter kept telling me, go in.
Right.
And I said, I just want to take a picture. No, you can no go in. So finally, he points to the table in the corner with the 6 guys with the fedoras and the cigars. You don't go in. I said, okay, I got it now.
Oh, that's funny. That's great. Yeah.
So I got a picture outside.
Very good. So, well, because I could only know so much of family history, and although Sapienza is not a very common last name, there were a couple Francesco Paolo Sapienzas who had made passage, I think there were 2 or 3, about the same time, and so it was hard to figure out which one was my grandfather, and so I could trace exactly where he was from, because I didn't know what village he was from, and therefore couldn't get to the birth certificate to get to that positioning. So what I ended up doing, once I realized that I had everything in line that I needed and knew that I was eligible for citizenship, was that's when I hired Italy Mondo to do the harder work for me that I wasn't able to do, to get through the roadblocks and to get the information that I needed to verify that who I was is who I was, and to verify who these relatives of mine actually were and where they were from. And they were the ones who were able to pull up these certificates and find these pictures of my family there in Terracini that I'd never seen. And so I'm very grateful to them for what they did for me. They were fantastic, and so easy to use in the process. So today is actually the 1-year anniversary of my son Joshua and I receiving our passport. So yeah.
Oh wow, cool. Yeah, I've thought about it. I haven't done it yet. I'm still on the fence whether at this stage of my life whether it's worth it or not. But I just had a friend who did it from grammar school, and she got her citizenship, and she actually moved there. So she's
Good
living
for
there
her.
in Salerno
Good
now,
for good. Oh yeah, good for
looking
her.
out the window,
So
basically. But I did a similar kind of thing because I had
mhm,
a roadblock with my father's family because
mhm,
I knew my oldest uncle's name was Achille,
mhm.
and so
Right,
his grandfather had to be Achille,
right,
but I couldn't find it. I could not find Achille Sorrentino, and I asked family members, and they were throwing
right,
out all kinds of names, and I said that doesn't make any
right,
sense.
right.
My oldest uncle was Achille. His grandfather's got to be Achille. Um, so I did get some genealogy professional over there, and he found the records, and then I was able to. Once I found that, then I was able to go back the other way, and the same thing with
Mhm.
my grandmother's father. His name was
Right,
Piramalo. Very, very
right.
uncommon name. There's none in America. None. Just the only ones who came were my grandmother and her aunt. And but from the records, I saw
Mhm.
Piramalo Capici Piccicelli,
Yeah.
and everything kind of lined up, but I couldn't find my
Right,
grandmother, and then I was
right.
like, duh, that of course not, because she's a girl, so you can't find her.
Mhm.
But I couldn't find my grandfather, and it didn't make any sense until what had
Mhm.
happened was my third great grandmother,
Oh, okay.
she inherited the title from her brother,
Right, right.
which was very, very
Wow.
unusual in Italy. But there was nobody left. So she became the Duchess of Capricotta, and when she
Oh,
did, she merged the two names. She merged her husband's name Piramalo and her name Capici Piccicelli
wow.
into Piramalo Capici Piccicelli. So the people
Uh-huh.
who inherited the title since then all have those three names. My grandfather, my great grandfather, his brother, his cousins, his father, all of them, they just have the Piramalo. Slowly, I was able to piece it all together. I found cousins in Italy, and they said, yes, you're who you think you are, and this is our grandfather, and that was his brother, and all of that.
Oh
And
gosh.
going back to
Well,
next
hopefully
month,
that
I was
that
supposed to meet them all in April.
yeah. Hopefully it'll clear up soon. I'm actually hoping that we'll get some clearance of this pretty quickly. I was thinking about going in June for a week. The prices have gotten a lot better in the last couple of years from Denver, and there's better direct flights to Sicily that just weren't there a couple of years ago. And I'll just wait patiently and see if things clear and it feels like a better health situation in a couple of months, and see if I can go for a week or 10 days. Let me talk about why I did it and why I went with the citizenship for a minute, if that's okay. With I have a 16-year-old son, and we only have one child, my wife and I, and we travel quite a bit, and so my son's been all over in his life, and he we decided that it would be a good idea for him, especially, so that he would have different opportunities for studying in college and different cost opportunities with studying in college. In addition, to my wife and I, like I said, we enjoy to travel quite a bit, and we really don't intend to stay in the United States for retirement. That we intended to go someplace else to retire anyway. And so seeing that I was eligible made a lot of sense to just to get to defend the citizenship and to get the passport for retirement purposes for ourselves, and then for educational purposes and potentially future life purposes for our son as well, because I think he is one of those people who, because of his childhood, just views himself more as a global citizen anyway. That he's just enjoyed his opportunities and time outside of the United States, and be able to see what he could do to maximize his talents and skills to what might be possible here or there in the global market. Especially if he wanted to do something in engineering, and having some language skills in an EU passport can have different benefits. And so the Italy Mondo did all the work for us. for both of us in the process for about $4,000. And if I were to quantify how much I'll save for junior year abroad for my son, it's a lot more than $4,000. And if I think about the ease of process, if my wife and I do end up retiring in Sicily or in some other place in Italy, that it will more than pay for itself. That the dividends will almost certainly be returned. It was worthwhile for that. In addition to just having the information and knowing more about my family, that you can't put a quantity on knowing that information about your family and having those experiences. So that's our story.
So my last question for you is where are you going to take this now? What's your next steps in research?
And it's just a matter of taking the time, because where I'm so halted is that I don't know anything about my great grandparents, my dad's parents, families. I don't know how many siblings that either of them had. So I don't know who's where still in Italy, in Sicily, because I don't have that information. And so I would like to find that out and see what more I could do. And so if I can make it to Sicily for a week or two this summer, I would like to spend a little more time in Terracini and trying to get some more information about that family and see if there are any cousins accessible that I can try to connect and reach out with. That would be my ideal goal. So I would probably stay in Chinisi, where I stayed the last time, where my grandmother's family is from, and I really like that. Just a great small town feel, easy to walk or ride your bike everywhere. It's a wonderful, beautiful place, and I'd love to spend a little more time there. And I do know that I have some cousins who are still there. I just need to put in a little effort to reach out to some of the names that I do have there and see if I can make some connections with them. So I know that they've stayed connected with some other cousins of mine here in the States. So that's what I'd like to do next.
And I think that's been the fun thing for me, because I never really knew that I had any cousins there. I mean, I suspected, of course, and they're distant, they're fourth cousins, but they've all been great in helping me and sending me photographs, and you could see the family resemblances and things like that. So it's really been special. Well, thanks. I really, really appreciate the time. It's always fun for me because I love talking about this.
Well, thanks for having me, Bob. I really appreciate it. This is a great opportunity to talk about my experiences and to talk about this whole process with somebody who's also so passionate about learning more about their Italian family. I think this has been a lot of fun for me this morning. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. Follow us on Facebook in the Italian Genealogy group or at www.italiangenealogy.blog.